Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So we hope that your Kartik has continued to be wonderful, and that this Kartik Ekadashi is also very auspicious. And we're continuing to explore and to relish the qualities of a pure devotee, a perfect gentleman of Srila Prabhupada. And again, our producer, Siddhanta Prabhu. And we have something very special today.
Yeah, for this quality, which is the Vaishnava, the perfect gentleman, he is merciful. And this is quality number 23 in our 26 qualities that we have reviewed, and we'll finish out this year with 3 more qualities, 3 more Ekadashis after today. But generally what we do in our previous concept is that we discuss, you and I, after we hear each story.
Yeah.
This particular quality is one that most devotees, I'd say 80% of the devotees, when I ask them at the end of the interview, which quality of Prabhupada means the most to them, that they resonate with. And I would say 70, 80% of the devotees have mentioned compassion, which is a synonym for he is merciful.
Yes.
So it was hard for me to select the stories because there are hundreds of them that do tell about Prabhupada's quality of being merciful. So today I'm suggesting that we, instead of talking about each one after each devotee, that we watch all of the, in this case, 10 devotees telling their stories about how Prabhupada is merciful. And then after the 10 have told their stories, then you can tell me, Pancharatna Prabhu, which 3 are your top favorites and why.
Okay.
And then for all those that are watching online,
maybe tough.
Okay. So we'll give you a minute to figure it out. But take notes during it. And I suggest everyone that's watching today also get a pen and paper and take notes so they can remember the 10 stories that we're telling today. And then comment in the comment section, what are your 3 favorites and why?
Yeah.
So it's an interactive podcast today. So we hope everyone will participate and share with each other their the comments and realizations about these stories that we're going to hear today.
Yeah. Perhaps another way of looking at favorite is sort of also how it relates to you and it affects you and
impacts you.
Somewhere,
That's right. Yeah. How it impacts you spiritually, how it affects your heart.
Yes.
Heart and mind. So to give a little introduction to the word merciful, there's a couple of synonyms that I found in the dictionary, and a few of them: kindness, compassion, forgiveness. And the definition that I've picked today that describes it in Webster's dictionary is a person who brings someone relief from something unpleasant.
Okay.
So let's listen to these stories that we will hear today in that regard, with that frame of mind about the definition of being merciful and how Prabhupada totally exemplifies that quality. We have 10 devotees today: Giriraj Swami, Indradumna Maharaj, Agnidev Prabhu, Sahadevi Dasi, Burijan, Atmatattva Prabhu, Kishori Devi Dasi, Pita Prabhu, Dikshavati Devi Dasi, and Lochanananda Prabhu.
Concentrated. This is boiling.
It really is.
This is the nectar, thick and juicy.
We hope you enjoy it.
Wonderful.
So let's begin with Giriraj Swami.
After some months in Boston, and we hardly made any new devotees, one young man came named Peter. And Peter was very eccentric. He used to sit in the hallway at the entrance to the building, and he would lean his back against the wall. A lot of the times he would have his legs out straight. He would read. Sometimes he would just lie down in the hallway and sleep. So we were getting quite upset because the first thing that any new person would see was Peter, you know, slouched out in the hallway and sometimes completely asleep. So Satsvarupa Maharaj wrote Srila Prabhupada what to do. And Srila Prabhupada wrote back, "What's the matter? Can't you tolerate?" So that was the answer. And we tolerated. But we felt uneasy, but we tolerated. After some days, Peter, and he came to be known as Crazy Peter. After some days, Crazy Peter left Boston and went to New Vrindavan. And on my way from Boston to India through New York, I just happened to ask about Crazy Peter, because I just wanted to know. We were a very small family then. So the devotee said he'd gone to New Vrindavan and he was doing very well, and that he was going to be initiated. I was like quite amazed. Anyway, I lost track of Crazy Peter until about 20 years later, when I visited Los Angeles, and I saw Crazy Peter at Mangalarti. So I asked some of the devotees, you know, that was already like 20 years, 1990 or so. Prabhupada had already left. I was surprised that he was still with us. So I asked some devotee, "Who is that?" The devotee said, "Oh, that's Kushakrata Prabhu." I said, "Kushakrata?" And he was famous because he was translating scriptures from Sanskrit into English and Bengali into English. And I thought, my God, you know, how merciful Srila Prabhupada is. That by his mercy and compassion, Crazy Peter, who we didn't see any potential in much, you know, had come to the stage where he was translating Vaishnava literature into English. So one quality of Srila Prabhupada was that he just intensely desired that everyone should be engaged in Krishna service and act in Krishna consciousness. And, you know, he saw the chance in everyone, and he wanted to give everyone the chance. And he was really ready to extend himself to any extent.
We arrived in London, and as we were landing in London, I was so excited because, you know, I'd heard how Malati and Shamasundar and Mukunda and Janaki and Guru Das and the devotees were all there, and they were doing a lot of, you know, service they're building up a new center. And we'd heard about the Beatles, how the Beatles had, you know, taken an interest in Krishna consciousness, and I was just expecting, you know, a big reception for Srila Prabhupada. It would be very special, as they always were, Prabhupada's reception. But this would be extra special, because Prabhupada maybe was going to meet the Beatles or something. So we landed, and then we were collecting our bags, and Prabhupada was just chanting his japa, and then one of Prabhupada's bags didn't arrive, a very important bag, the bag with all of his books, the commentaries by the acharyas that he was using for his writing. Didn't come. We waited and waited, and everybody left, and we could hear the kirtan outside, you know, in the reception hall. We could hear a big kirtan going on, and then, you know, there was no bag. And Shamasundar was really come to the airport to meet us. He was really upset, and he said, "This is, you know," he said, "someone's going to have to stay and wait for this bag." So when he said that, I kind of tried to hide, you know, behind a pillar. He said, "So Prabhupada Indradumna can stay, and he'll bring the bag to the temple." There, Prabhupada said, "Yes, it's very important." You know, oh no, I'm going to miss the reception. So everybody left, and I saw Prabhupada walk out the door, and I could see the kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, a big fire. Oh no, I got to wait for this bag. Why did they lose the bag? So I waited an hour and about an hour and a half. And finally, somehow they found the bag. And they brought it to me. I was waiting by the ticket counter. They brought it to me. And it was a big bag, huge, big suitcase. And it was just packed full of books. It was really heavy. I could hardly lift it myself. So I put it in a trolley and I went outside and, you know, I'd been in London before, but it was some years ago and I didn't know really how to get around. And I said, I'll just take a taxi. So it was raining and cold and I was miserable and I missed the reception and there were no devotees around. You know, I got the taxi and I put the bag in there and got in. He said, where do you want to go? I said, 7 Bury Place. Got to the temple, it was even raining harder. And I got out and paid him and big bag, walked up the stairs, knocked on the door, some devotee, big blissful face. Oh, Hare Krishna, who are you? I'm Indra Dumnadas. I came on the flight with Srila Prabhupada. I had to wait behind for his bag. Oh, come on in. I came in, bag down, and I was thinking, well, God, at least I'll get some prasadam. Must have been a good feast. And then the devotees are all sitting around with these paper plates, you know, and all the paper plates are empty. It's the yellow turmeric stains and a few finger marks through the ghee on the plate. I'm going, Prabhu, is there any prasadam? Oh, Prabhu, you missed the prasadam. You should have come about, you know, a couple hours earlier. Oh, and you missed the reception. The reception for Prabhupada was so ecstatic. Prabhupada spoke so nicely. We had big kirtan. I'm going, oh, please. There's no prasadam, not even a pakora? Nope. Oh, okay, well, can some of you guys help me carry this bag upstairs? Prabhupada's upstairs? Yeah, he has a room upstairs. Can you help me carry this bag upstairs? No, we're so full. Oh, I can't help. Can you help? No, I'm full. I can't. So I'll do it myself. I started to get angry at that bag. You know? Later I understood that bag was the source of all good fortune for me. So Bury Place Temple was, you know, the steps were very steep going up to every level. So I was boom, boom, taking that bag up. I don't remember what floor Prabhupada's room was on, maybe the 3rd floor or something, and I was exhausted by the time. Tired, hungry, hadn't showered. And then I saw on the door it said, you know, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Prabhupada's there. So I didn't even knock. I just opened the door. I didn't think, you know, again, the etiquette, you know. I was just so excited, you know, I'm going to see Prabhupada again, but I'm tired and confused, a little confused. I opened the door, and I turned around, and I started dragging Prabhupada's suitcase in backwards. And I'm dragging, looking at Prabhupada's room, and all of a sudden, Nanda Kumar, who was serving Srila Prabhupada in London as a servant, he said, hey, watch out! You're going to bump into Srila Prabhupada. And I dropped the bag, and I turned around, and I was this far away from Prabhupada. He was just standing there, Hare Krishna. And I said, oh, Srila Prabhupada. And I fell down on the ground. And I started offering my obeisances. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta. And then all of a sudden, on my back, there was a slap on my back. And I thought, well, Prabhupada slapped me on the back. Well, I couldn't figure out if it was like out of love or anger. I didn't know, because either would be a blessing. And I can still, that right there on the back right there, Prabhupada's blessing. And I just continued, you know, Namaste, Saraswati, and then Prabhupada said something. But I couldn't hear. He said it kind of softly. And then after a few moments, I was right near Prabhupada's feet. His feet walked away and he went to another part of the chamber, the room there. So I waited and I got up. Prabhupada wasn't in the room anymore. And Nanda Kumar was there, and I looked over at him, and his mouth was open, like. And I said, Prabhu, what happened? He said, Prabhupada slapped you on the back. I said, yeah, I know. It hit me hard. Yeah, I know. I said, and what did he say? And he smiled, he said, oh, it was so nice, he said. Prabhupada told you, so much endeavor in this material world, but when I take you back home, back to Godhead, everything will be easy and sublime. Srila Prabhupada ki. So all of us, I mean, we receive so many instructions from Srila Prabhupada in the books, but if a disciple is fortunate enough to get a personal instruction or a personal blessing from the spiritual master, they treasure that and they keep it in their heart forever. And quite often, as the years went on and there were sometimes difficulties in Krishna consciousness, as the movement spread, there was so much opposition, and just the daily service of going out on Sankirtan, it was cold, it was hot, I was tired, or there were days like that. Then I just remember those words: so much endeavor in this material world, but when I take you back home, back to Godhead, everything will be easy and sublime. So I just, when those days come, I just think like that. Those are Prabhupada's words. Let us struggle to serve Srila Prabhupada, push on the Sankirtan movement in this world, because in the end, Prabhupada's going to take us all back home, back to Godhead. And when we go back to the spiritual world, everything's going to be easy and sublime.
The quality that Prabhupada exhibited that impressed me most readily was his compassionate nature. I saw how he would look at compassionately to how he dealt with some of his disciples who had fallen away, and they come back, and he would receive them with love and compassion. We had never seen that. In fact, just to illustrate, I remember one little incident. As Prabhupada was making his way through the crowd, through the aisle, suddenly he stopped. And he looked to his right, he looked across the room, in the airport. He looked across, and I was on his left side, and I tried to follow his gaze, wonder, what's he looking at? And I traced it, and he was looking at one young man. I didn't realize that that young man was a devotee, was a disciple of Prabhupada. He was a young man with hair, and he had come out. He had heard from the other devotees, Prabhupada's going to be here, and he came to see him. Prabhupada stopped and looked at him, and he just stopped walking. And his look was just eyes of compassion and love. And he stretched out his hand, and he did like this, motioning for him to come. And that boy came, and he walked through the line, and Prabhupada took off one of his garlands. He had many, and he put it around him. And the exchange was one of love. It was so real, Prabhupada had affection. And this boy had left maybe years before. But Prabhupada was so happy to see him. And he gave him the garland, and then he continued walking. So that was a little thing, but seeing that compassion and that affection in action, that was touching, So that's something he always, we read that the Vaishnavas are, full of compassion. He doesn't even want to see, he doesn't want to see an animal being hurt or killed. What to speak of a devotee or a disciple? He was so compassionate.
And then there was this one evening, and I was walking from Sundar Arti, and I'm walking from the temple room up in Srila Prabhupada's quarters right there, and where the guest house was at that time, where now the restaurant is. So we were walking. So I was walking that way, and I look into Prabhupada's quarters, and there's nobody there. And Srila Prabhupada's there, but nobody at the door, nobody there. And I'm like, this is my chance. This is it, you know. I'm very glad I'm like that, actually. But anyhow, I looked, and I went, oh my gosh, I'm going in there now. And so I went up, and I walked in the door, and there was only one brahmachari who was leaned up against the wall, and he was kind of covered in his chadar, and he was chanting japa. And I'm going, wow, this is so quiet. And Srila Prabhupada was just up there at his desk, and he was reading, and just there at his desk, he had his leg up, one leg up, and he was just sitting and reading and doing different things. And so I sat down in the middle of the room and just started chanting. There's a pre-story to this, because I was in Mayapur and I just was rejected by one of the important people there. Some kind of confusion that I won't get into, but I felt rejected. Okay, just so you know, and I felt like there's just no way I could ever please Srila Prabhupada, because I'm a woman and because I have children. And I really believed that at that time, you know, that's how I was feeling, okay? And wherever any of that, okay, and we know the history of everything, so, you know. So anyhow, so I was like, okay, I felt kind of hopeless. And there I was sitting there in the room with Srila Prabhupada, and I felt that feeling. And I thought, this is the time that I can talk with Prabhupada about that. Because I don't want him, because what I had heard is that this one devotee had told me that he told Prabhupada that I was lazy. And so I was really brokenhearted, you know, that I would think that Prabhupada would think I was lazy. Not that I'm not lazy, because now I know I am. But then I didn't feel like I was lazy. And I was really angry and also felt hopeless, because there was just no way, you know, that I was going to please Prabhupada or do anything right, you know, at that point. So anyhow, Srila Prabhupada was there, and I went up to his desk. I had the courage. I mustered it up. And I said to Srila Prabhupada, I just folded my hands, and Prabhupada came up and smiled. And so I knew I could speak. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, and I got out a few words, and then I just started crying completely, like, whoa! I mean, it was deep crying, like I should have been in therapy or something, you know. But Prabhupada sat there, and I was crying, Prabhupada, I'm a woman. There's no way I can please you. I'm a woman, and I have children, and they say I'm lazy now. And Srila Prabhupada, at that point, when he heard that, then I saw his arm go back, and he did this smile. It was like the universe or something. And when he did that smile, I just, oh my gosh, you know, how could he think that was a smile thing, you know? Because I was so sad. But that smile was like, he embraced me, you know, with that smile. And then he said to me, he came close, and he goes, are you reading my books? That's what he said to me. Are you reading my books? And I was reading his books, because that's one thing that moms can do, okay? And when you're breastfeeding and everything, is you could read books, okay? So I was reading, I was all the way up to the book that he was finished with, you know, and at that time it was probably like 7th canto, 6th canto or something, 5th canto, I don't even know. But it wasn't very much. But the thing was I read them. And so I said to Prabhupada, yes, Srila Prabhupada, I am reading your books. And he said, then you are pleasing me. Yeah. And I mean, you could imagine, and I just was so grateful, and I just felt so much love. That's why I say the unconditional love changed my life.
And then, so it was very, very difficult for us. And Hong Kong is, I'd say, the most materialistic city. And I'm from New York, and it was more intense and materialistic than New York. And it was very difficult. I don't want to go into all the difficulties that were there, but we were struggling. And Prabhupada, when he came and visited us in Hong Kong in 1974, he was very strong. And he was very strong, and he chastised me especially.
And Jagatarini also was feeling that. So when I was with Prabhupada, I was in the room with Prabhupada in the Hong Kong Hilton. She was outside the door, and she didn't even want to come into Prabhupada's presence. And to some degree, that sounds ununderstandable, but why wouldn't you want to be in Prabhupada's presence? But Prabhupada was Prabhupada. You know, he could be very, very, very strong too. And if you weren't ready for that presence, it was very, very difficult. So anyway, he asked me, how is your wife doing with this? You know, in a very, very personal way, because she had actually sacrificed so much to join the movement. He used to say that she sacrificed 3 things. She was an actress, she was okay, moving upward actress, and she gave that up, and she had gone to Hong Kong on his order, and third, that she had married me, which was, of course, an austerity, but that's a whole nother long story too. But she, it was an arranged marriage, and you know, the first day that we met, we were married. So that's so culturally impossible for someone brought up in the West, but she did it, and you know, after 50 years, we're still married, which is just Prabhupada's mercy in that. So in any case, he very much appreciated her, and so he asked me how my wife was doing, and I said, not very good. She was struggling. So he said, bring her in. Okay. So I brought her in, and then he just brought her in front of him, and he took off a ring from his finger, a gold ring, and gave it to her. And of course, she still has that. But this was a different Prabhupada than Prabhupada just sitting on the Vyasa-san, who most of the devotees had that relationship with him, and you know, the defender of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, you know, the Singha Guru sitting on the Vyasa-san, and but that was one aspect of Prabhupada. But Prabhupada had many aspects. He was a person with so many aspects to him. His presence really helped her. Obviously, you know, he was so. His presence gave us life. You know, not only us, but definitely us. But his presence was the life of the movement. You know, it was going on his presence. So she melted. I don't remember, you know, if she was more teary. I'm sure she was more teary than I am right now, remembering it. But you know, if she was sitting here next to me, you know, we'd need the towels. I'm sure. And she still has the ring, of course. You know, it's her life.
Then when I was in Bangalore, this is early 80s, you had to make, at least you have to make 2 life members in the month, because you're maintained by the temple, so they expected you to bring in some collection. Then I found this one Ganguly name. So I thought, well, let's make some appointment with him. I called up that place. It said some factory name. So I thought it must be some chemical factory and it will be easy to go and see him. So Mr. Ganguly sounded very positive. He said, oh, you are from Hare Krishna movement. Yeah, you please come at 11 o'clock and see me. So I came in, I spread the book on his table and put the poster up. And then I can see that I won't have much time with this man. So I wanted to be really short. So I said, I'm sure you know about this movement, and we are having a branch here, and we don't have a land yet, and maybe we will get one. We have applied. And here is a set of books. And this is a great work. You are a Bengali. You should be proud of this, because our Guru Maharaj is also a Bengali. And he has spread Hare Krishna all around the world. And I'm sure you appreciate this service. So if you could take 1 life membership. And I became silent. So he opened his drawer and took his checkbook. So then he said, what is the amount? So I said, 2,222. And he said, it's okay. So I give you a donation. You can make one life membership also. And he wrote some 10,000 something and tore the check and gave it to me. So I was very moved. I said, oh, thank you very much. This is a very nice gesture of you. So then he said, sit down. I want to tell you, I didn't do this convinced by your preaching. So I said, oh, well, I didn't think I convinced you either, but anyway, this is very nice contribution. So he said, but listen, sit down, I want to tell you something. He said, my father Ganguly, he was a classmate of your founder Acharya. Then he said that every day he came to our house and he played chess with my father before going to the college, for the school, Matilal Free School. So he said Prabhupada will come with in the bike with his little tiffin for the lunch, and they will play chess, Mr. Ganguly and Abhay. And if Ganguly gets defeated, then he will have to feed Prabhupada with his lunch. If Prabhupada is defeated, then it's the other way, so he will take. And almost every day, Prabhupada defeated him. And then Ganguly was taking his lunch. This also means that he gave his lunch to him. So it's like you conquer the other person's lunch. That's the stake for the chess play. So he said that this was the childhood times of my father. He said then he became a Sanskrit scholar, his father, and he was teaching in the local university, Ravindra Bharati there. And he used to always speak about, that this founder of Hare Krishna movement, that Maharaj was my classmate, and he was coming every day, and he will tell about it, childhood Leela with him. And how Abhay always told him that later on when he does something, he would take his help. That you should help me later on when I do something. And then he always said, what is that something? So he said, later on I will be doing something, then I need your help. But there was no more explanation this. What was this something that he was going to do? So then he grows up, he becomes a Sanskrit PhD, becomes a professor, he gets married and he has children. And then he comes to know that the same Abhay Babu has become a Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he went to New York and so on and so forth. And it's a local center in Albert Road, so he has gone there a few times. And then they were saying that Prabhupada was coming to visit. So at this time, the junior Ganguly, he is now in high school, so he comes with his mother to see Prabhupada. Continuously 2-3 days he has come, and there is Guru Puja and there is class, and then in the class Prabhupada looks around and then looks at him because he looks just like his father. So he says, Apnar naam ki, kutay te kya asichin? So then he says, I am Ganguly, I am son of such Ganguly. He said, oh, where is he? He didn't come? You tell him, I want to see him. So the mother and son, they come back, and then the son told the father that Maharaj wants to see you. So his father says, how can I go and see him? He is the guru of the world, and here I am a Griha Medi and this, that. And so the son says, but he wants to see you. Tomorrow he's going to ask us, why didn't you bring your father? Then he said, well, you tell him that I am sick. So he didn't want to go because he's feeling shy. He's feeling too small and shy. He is world guru. He's got all foreigners sitting at his feet. And so then they come back, and then before starting the class, Prabhupada looks at him and he said, your father didn't come? Then he says, well, he is feeling sick. Oh, he's sick. Okay, I will come and see him. So then after the class they went back home and they told him that he said he will come. He said, how he will come to our house, like that. Next day morning, Prabhupada goes for morning walk, and instead of going to Victoria, from Park Street, suddenly he turns his route. He turns right, he takes one gully and another gully and another gully, and all the devotees are following him. They think, where is he going? Where Prabhupada is seriously chanting and walking, and after going few gullies, he comes to this man's house. He rings the bell. So the sun comes down. He is getting ready to go to school, and he comes down with the uniform, and he sees, Prabhupada with all his disciples in front of his house. Already the whole road is gathering because of this thing. And it's a huge crowd in front of his house. And Prabhupada just walks up, and a couple of devotees went in. It's a small staircase, so he goes to the house, and then he knows the whole house, so he goes straight to the bedroom, and there is this man laying down. He's not sick, he's just laying down. He's old. I mean, he's 1 year elder than Prabhupada, so he's quite old. And, family life and conditioned soul, so he's more tired and broken up and like that. So Prabhupada goes and sits next to him, and then he said, and pokes him on his side with his hand like this, like friends do. He said, hey, you didn't come to see me, in Bengali. And then he lifts his eyes and he sees, suddenly he's completely shocked that all the Hare Krishna devotees are in his house. Then he tells his wife, please bring something for him, and then they go on talking, and Prabhupada says that, see, my disciples, they have to learn Sanskrit. So I told you, you should help me. So you should come and teach them Sanskrit. It will be very good. And he said, you can travel around the world with me and you teach them Sanskrit. So why don't you do that? So he says, Swamiji, I am retired and I am very old and I don't have any spiritual energy. No, you have the spark. It is the same spark like in me. It's the same spiritual spark in you. So you should, now he speaks in English so that everybody else understands. Then he says, no, you should join this movement. This is very important. And then he says, Bharata Bhumite Manusha Janma Hoila Jar. So you should perfect your life. And better late than never. And then he takes little rasgulla and drinks water. And then, like old days, he takes this man's chadar and wipes his hand in it. And then he pats him on his back. Then he said, you should come. I will take you. You should come. And then Prabhupada gets up and then, he tells his followers that I used to sit here and, we come in the morning from here. We took that road to go to the school. And he said he was a very intelligent student. He used to score more than me and all that. And then they come down. And Prabhupada continues to go to Victoria Memorial, and then he came back. And that afternoon around 3 o'clock, Junior Ganguly said that around 3 o'clock when he came back from the school, the father asked for some water. Then he just leaned back and then he said that Bhaktivedanta Swami will take me. And he closed his eyes. That was it. It's amazing. That day was his departure. Or maybe by seeing Prabhupada, he got so excited. When you become so happy also, your heart stops. And he was not any especially sick or anything. He was just old age. He was healthy. There was no sickness. And he saw Prabhupada, and that interaction with Prabhupada accelerated him so much that that was it. He left his body. So Miss Junior Ganguly told that I was there when he left the body, and I could see that actually he has been taken by Prabhupada. As he said, you come, I will take you. And when he said that in the morning, we were thinking he's telling you come to ISKCON and I will take you to America or something. But we didn't understand that this is what he meant. He actually took him. So Prabhupada took him to the spiritual world.
So one time in Vrindavan was the time of the mosquitoes. So we all got alert, and we all was told to be very careful, the servants in Prabhupada's quarter, to close perfectly the doors so we don't want mosquitoes attack Srila Prabhupada. So one time, I will be so careful. So one time I am coming, So for those who know Srila Prabhupada quarters, many of you, I am coming from his little kitchen by the garden and enter. So on the left there is Srila Prabhupada room, and on the right and straight you can go in his darshan room. So I am coming. So I am a little after Prabhupada sleeping room, and there come out on my right Arisori. So Arisori blocked me to go, and he started to scream at me. What are you doing? You never close Prabhupada's door. You want Prabhupada to be attacked by the mosquitoes like this. And I was so careful to close the door. So I'm like this, you know, and you go like this, and you are stupid, you know, and scream and scream. So I'm like this. I'm trying to tell him, yes, yes, I promise you, I did close the door. Okay. So suddenly, I feel such a strong, I don't know how to say English, poignet, hand, such a strong like this, not on my sari, on my hip. One hand is catching my hip, but so strong, and pull me like this. And who is that? Srila Prabhupada. And he come in front of me like this. He put me behind him, and he went to Arisori. So what now? Why are you speaking to her like this? What is this? You should not speak like this to her. And Srila Prabhupada started to defend me like this. And he got so angry. So the first thing is that Prabhupada touched me. And he defended me. And he always defend the poor, the one who are, you know, women are nothing much. Like that. Oh, that was the unbelievable day, what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada had such a strong strength. You cannot imagine. Such strength. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada's position, you know, after you were with Prabhupada for a while, you got used to Prabhupada's physical condition that was so devastating when you first saw. So we would be around Prabhupada's bed, and then new devotees would come in, and as they first saw Srila Prabhupada, they'd start crying, and it would be so pathetic that we'd all start crying to see these devotees crying when they first saw Srila Prabhupada. So we'd all started crying. And then Prabhupada said, at one point he says, "Why are you all crying?" So he said, "Srila Prabhupada, we're crying because you're so sick and we are afraid that you may leave." And Prabhupada said, "I will never leave you." He said, "I live forever in my books. I will never leave you. I'll live forever within my books, so there's no reason to cry." He said, "Old people cry, old people die, that is natural." He said, when a young person dies, that's some mistake, because young person should live to their old. When they're old, they should die. And that's, for me, it's natural. It's a natural thing, so don't cry. So then one devotee said, "But Srila Prabhupada, we're crying because we can't be without you. And when you leave, we won't know how to communicate with you." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, I will communicate with you through your heart." He said, "I will come to you in your dreams as Chaitya Guru. I will communicate with you through dreams," Prabhupada said.
as Chaitya Guru. I also found that a little controversial because I thought my godbrothers wouldn't have approved, but Prabhupada had said it. Prabhupada said it right there, that he would communicate with us through dreams.
Prabhupada did so many things at the airport. You know, he would sit down waiting for his flight, and, you know, we'd be there like around him. And, you know, this lady that was there visiting our temple, she was a nurse, and she was, you know, a little eccentric. And anyway, she loved Prabhupada. So she was there, you know, seeing Prabhupada off. And so a few other sannyasis were sitting there on the airport bench, you know, with Srila Prabhupada waiting for the flight. And Prabhupada had his cane, and he was like this, you know, just waiting for us, looking around, you know. And then he was looking, he looked at the nurse, and then he looked at the devotees sitting on the chair, all the guys. He actually told them to leave so that this lady could sit down. Okay? Prabhupada was the perfect gentleman.
Then Pushta Krishna asked Prabhupada, will we recognize you in the spiritual world when we arrive? And he said, yes, you will recognize me. He had previously said, and we will have big ISKCON in the spiritual world. He said, that is my role, that when you return back home, back to Godhead, the spiritual master will take your hand and put your hand in Krishna's hand and make the introduction. So that's an eternal position that he has. We are eternally related to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
So
Wow.
what do you think?
Well, you've given us a very difficult task.
Good.
Very difficult task.
Good to meditate.
First, though, I was feeling that there's one. I felt like a common thread to this quality. What came to me is it's based on a vision that Srila Prabhupada had for everyone, that was you could say it was fatherly, or he was a friend to everyone, and wanting to, he was giving himself to everyone. So naturally, so this being merciful and compassionate just came naturally, right, because he felt that relationship. So now you have to get me, okay, what I mean, I kind of, Indradyumna's story, well, first of all, he's a wonderful storyteller, so you know that is so it, but it's so unique and special, the how Srila Prabhupada, because that was the other thing that I was picking up on. Part of that quality is the intimacy that Srila Prabhupada had with his disciples, knowing how to be merciful. You know, what were those things? Like with, and I think the second one I had was Sahadevi. You know, who she was needing, and she got just exactly what she needed to feel the love. And then my third would be then Burijan and Jagatarini, the same sort of, here it is. This is because it's born out of that desire to give and to relieve, like you say, merciful is to relieve someone of distress and to know how to do it. You know? Right. So exactly. Anyway,
all right.
But they're all fantastic. They're all wonderful.
Okay, those are good stories to put in the comments section, and we hope others will share, and others can then also learn something from others' realizations, like you have shared.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it, and thank you for staying through the 40 minutes of.
Oh, I know that was no difficulty.
Okay, great. So that was quality number 23. Next to Kadashi, we're going to have quality number 24. He is friendly. But thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us and continuing this adventure that we're experiencing and enjoying. to dive deeply into the Srila Prabhupada's qualities and to increase our love and to increase our capacity to follow in his footsteps. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Please like, subscribe, share. And thank you, Siddhanta. We'll see you next time.